All right, the best thing heading into the opener against the Texans is that it certainly appears as if the Saints have escaped the preseason and training camp without any major significant injury. I guess the biggest one right now that we're still a little concerned about is linebacker Alex Anzalone, but he didn't go on injured reserve. So even if he wasn't quite ready for the opener, we know that he's coming back at some point, Sean Payton expects, in the first half of the season. So you got a healthy team going into this year. I've said this a lot in the offseason. I think the Saints roster is as deep and as talented as any roster in the NFL. I would absolutely make the Saints the favorites to get to the Super Bowl in the NFC for a ton of reasons. The roster is terrific top to bottom. You've got Drew Brees, and I think you have a Super Bowl caliber coach. I think a lot of times when we talk about the Saints' chances to get to the Super Bowl, just talking about Sean Payton gets underrated or not played high enough. He's a coach that can get you there and can win you a Super Bowl. I love the Saints roster. I love what they did in the offseason. I think this team has a great shot. Now, obviously, you got to be lucky with injuries, and you got to get some breaks. The Saints' best team ever might have been 2011, a team that didn't win a Super Bowl. I do think that was the best team ever. I think 2009 was the second best team, and I think last year's team was good enough to win a Super Bowl. I think the Saints have had 3 teams good enough to win a Super Bowl, and they've won 1. So there's no guarantee just because you're good enough that you're going to win it, but I think this team this year is definitely good enough to make a run. I expect to see a late playoff run. I think they're going to be competing for the #1 seed throughout. The one thing you don't know if the Saints are going to be great for the opener. They've lost 5 straight openers. Sean Payton has shown in the last few years that he really doesn't care if the Saints are the best team in the NFL in September. He cares by December, but in September, the Saints have not been a great team over the last few years. Now, he said he is changing things, and it's not acceptable what's happened the last few years. The one to the Bucs last year was terrible. But the Saints have not been a good starting team. I still love the Saints' chances in the opener against Houston. I think Houston's a team that is ripe for a fall. They won 11 games last year. I don't expect to see them win more than 7 or 8 this year. I love the Saints' chances in the opener, but even if they don't play well in the opener, I love the chances for this to be a long playoff run and one of the great years for football in Saints history.